My name is Jim McGregor, and I've lived in China for 20 years, and I'm just grateful that I did not make Bill Gertz's list of 11 threats from China. It's kind of intimidating being here among all these PhDs and well-studied men. I ended up in China because I was expelled from high school. I joined the Army when I got expelled from high school. They sent me to Vietnam. That turned my head towards Asia. It led to me becoming a journalist, and as time went on, I wanted to get back to Asia as a journalist, so I went to China in '85 and backpacked through the country. '87, I moved to Taiwan to learn Mandarin, and I've lived in Beijing since '90, both as a journalist and a business person. All of the theories that I've heard tonight, I've read many times. My view is more kind of grassroots, what China looks like on the ground and what I've seen. When I first moved to China as a reporter, I had secret police following. My phone was tapped. Even the maid who took care of our nanny, who helped us with our daughter, was from the foreign ministry and made reports on us. This was a country that was just really emerging from the forest fire of the Cultural Revolution. And what I've seen since then has been kind of documented by other speakers here tonight on the fast growth. I mean, I've watched the first financial person I met in China was a guy named Millions Yang, who was a steel worker who had cornered the market on the 4 stocks on the illegal Shanghai stock market. And now China's doing the world's largest IPOs, and in fact, Chinese stocks were the top performers on NASDAQ last year. When I first got to Beijing in the fall, you had big piles of cabbage on the corner because that was the only vegetable they got. People would bring it home, they'd shove it under their bed or into cabinets, and over the winter you'd tear away the rotten leaves and you could eat the fresh leaves inside. Well, as you know now, if I don't see a new high-rise every day, I get a little jittery. It's moving so fast. International sophistication. When I went there in '85, people would come up to me on the street and show me around for the day because they were so excited to learn about the outside world. Well, we've had 600,000 students alone from China come to the United States. Chinese people are very international, traveling the world, doing business, and even being involved in academic endeavors in the United States. So we've learned that China's a very formidable country tonight, and we better be scared of them. Because why? Well, China has grown very fast, and it's moving very fast, but what has happened during this period? China has been shoving all kinds of problems under the carpet. The carpet's getting lumpy, and the country will trip on these problems, and it's going to be very busy for the next few decades fixing this. Environment, China is trash. 16 of the 20 worst air polluted cities in the world are in China. I've traveled in every province of China, and I've never seen a clean body of water that was not in a bottle. Healthcare, from a fairly decent basic healthcare system, it's become very commercial. 2/3 of people don't have health care. If you are a peasant and your kid gets cancer, what do? You beg, borrow, and steal money to get them to a hospital in a city. You have to deposit the money for your kid to be in that hospital. If you run out of money, they kick your kid out of that hospital. The have and the have-not issue is growing and growing. There was 80,000 demonstrations 2 years ago. Last year they went down because they realized they better not be reporting on how many they had. And on, party corruption, etc. So this is this colossus that's going to take on the United States. What does China really want? From a military standpoint, China wants to protect its wealth. It's been a country that's been colonized. It also wants to have the military projection to be able to protect its own sea lanes. From natural resources, China, the rocks have not been kind to China. They're as dependent as we are or more on imported oil and iron ore and other raw materials. The government is running scared of its own people. You've got to realize when you have 10% economic growth for 20 years and kids are growing up under that kind of growth, they expect exponential improvement every year forever. And the government has really no credibility other than economic growth and giving people a better life. So where does the United States have to worry? Where do we really eclipse China? You can't be a global leader without a leading ideology, and China right now has no leading ideology other than getting rich. Right now, the United States isn't so popular around the world with Iraq and other issues. China is outworking the world, but I tell you, people are looking for U.S. leadership. We will not have trouble competing with China diplomatically. Financial world, New York, you can walk down the street here and throw a rock in any direction, you're going to hit $1 trillion in hedge funds. The Shanghai banks still don't have check clearing mechanisms for private accounts. China's moving ahead in the financial world. They've got $1 trillion foreign exchange surplus, and they're, in fact, putting together a $120 billion hedge fund. But they are going to have to be dependent on the U.S. and our financial system and cooperating with us for their money to be deployed well as the capital they need. Education. China's built 700 universities in the last 15 years. However, it still has stuffed duck style education where people are taught to memorize, not to think for themselves and not to analyze. The world comes to America as long as we give them the visas to have the best in the world education system. We can absorb the brains of the world and stay ahead of anybody in the world. Finally, I'm looking at my opponents here. I'm on the good guys team here on the left, and my opponents here, these are all learned men, they're all PhDs, but take a look, there's not a bit of suntan on any of those heads. They have been sitting in offices in Washington and Chicago, reading reports and putting together the world under theories, and that's quite good. I'm happy to say that. And I'm not here to defend China. I'm here to defend America, because if you say that we can't handle the rise of China, then you are voting against America tonight. I believe that you really have to vote no, because if you vote yes, then you're voting against America. America can handle the rise of China. China's got a lot of problems, and we've handled many things in the life of this country, and we will handle this quite well. Thank you very much.